His Excellency arrived in Elmira Harbor aboard the American cruiser and waited for the Radzier. That afternoon, Admiral Red Claw and His Excellency paid a visit to the British ship, where they had a cordial meeting with Admiral Parker.
So you're saying Prince St. Antonio is dead?
Yes.
That's dreadful. I truly like that young man. In any case, Warrens is going to leave this island with a cracked skull.
Admiral, Bob Warrens is my husband. Please, I ask you to consider that. Should you arrest him?
Senorita, rest assured. No decision about Bob Warrens will be made without your input.
And what about the bigger picture?
If it turns out that some vagabond is sitting on the throne, the home fleet won't lift a finger to defend his reign.
So how do we resolve this?
I've requested an audience with His Majesty. I know him well. I believe I can confirm his identity to everyone's satisfaction.
We'll take your word for it.
Later that day, an officer arrived on board and delivered an invitation. His Majesty would receive Admiral Parker, his American counterpart, and former President Alvarez with his daughter that evening at the Royal Palace. The great hall of the Royal Palace glittered with the full brilliance of its chandeliers. The courtiers in full-dress uniforms stood stiff as pallbearers at a royal funeral.
Do you really believe that vagabond will show his face here?
But Anna wasn't listening. Her gaze was fixed somewhere beyond the present. She looked lost. Suddenly, all eyes turned to the doorway. A delegation entered, led by a white-bearded captain in a brand-new naval uniform. Dirty Fred. And he wasn't alone. Behind him came Moonlight Charlie, the doctor, Cannibal Baby, and Big Buffalo. Never in the long history of St. Antonio Castle had such a gang crossed its threshold. Conscious of their painfully clumsy finery, they stood there awkwardly.
A pleasure to meet you, sir. I've heard a great deal about you. Where did you earn all those medals?
At the Simon Arts Department store.
Faces were tense with anticipation. A hush fell over the room. Then the silence was broken by the noble drawl of Gomperez Hidalgo.
His Majesty, the King.
Two officers stepped in with crisp formality. Then came the sound of swift, confident footsteps. His Majesty appeared, smiling, the world's youngest field marshal. From the back of the room came a startled murmur.
The wild child.
But no one paid it any mind. Everyone was watching Admiral Parker approach the king.
Your Majesty, I'm truly honored to welcome you to your empire.
But just then, chaos erupted. Ana Alvarez had fainted. When she came to, her weary head rested against a golden epaulette. They were alone in a quiet little salon.
Anna, I hope you have no objections to my family anymore.
You made a fool of me.
Well, if you want a divorce, you certainly have a solid reason. Before our wedding, I told you I was a multiple murderer. Later, it turned out I'd misled you. So, will you divorce me?
Anna didn't reply. She seemed deep in thought. But her head remained on his shoulder, and as she pondered, His Majesty kissed her, with his usual thoroughness. Dirty Fred was granted a private audience in the royal widow's apartments.
Don't cry, Helena. That boy of yours, he'll make it all worthwhile.
I suffered so much. After all, he's your son. I feared he'd take after his father.
Well, he didn't turn into water, did he? He never needs to know he isn't a real St. Antonio by blood. What good would it do?
Tell me, Theodore, was it you who killed Fernandez?
No, that was the Americans. A Secret Service captain took care of him. Fernandez had made a deal with Warrens. He hated having an adopted St. Antonio on the throne, preferred Warrens, who would have allowed weapons shipments to pro-Japanese Chinese rebels. So the Americans removed him.
They sat in silence.
God bless you, Helena.
Where are you going, Theodore?
To the sea.
She lowered her gaze to the carpet.
Have you forgiven me?
Silence. Then slowly she looked up. The room was empty. Dirty Fred, the captain, had slipped away quietly. and she never saw him again. Letter from Fulig Jimmy to the monarch.
Written like here in San Francisco by my own royal hand after the end of my ruling ship. Dearest King Sir, honored Mama of His Majesty, and Her Majesty the respected wife. Your latest upsent royal letter arrived today, and I unsealed it with own fingers. Now I answer with humble informations. With regard to your kind invitage that I should relocate to your court for a peaceful lifestyle, which your majesty would care for, I must answer with most sorrow. Because inactivity is heavy burden for me. I'm a man of the city, even if not registered, which is just a formal nonsense. But a city man cannot easily adjust to countryside. And a small island, no matter how small, is still royal court. Not the world of high life. Still, I remember fondful my glorious ruling ship, which bringed blossom to the nation. I would not be surprised if in Elmira they age up my golden age, and on the main square I see my statue while just casually walking. Because the people locked me in their hearts, and good thing it's not literal, or they'd need to glue a paper bag over it, like in other lockings. I visited the clubs in Singapore. Not what it was. Vanek got caught lifting something and got thieved. I think he'd like it if your majesty write him some lines. Let Vanek see that you not forget your friends when they get into trouble. Also, Busy Gizzard told me to write that, if Majesty have any funds to spare, maybe could return him the $2.50 what he covered on your Majesty's behalf when paying back Tulipan, our mutual friend. Because, he says, a king can't make debts, but we kings know. That ain't true. Still, when was Gizzard ever sitting on a throne? Here everything's not like before. Quiet and boring now. Poor Marrow got double-sided shot and died, though I warned him that Hobo Fisher escaped. I'm telling you, it's all dull now, so I went to Hong Kong straight away, as I had no business there neither. And such things I handle personally. Currently, I'm in San Francisco in same matter. If your majesticness would be so kind, I left my knife inside a gentleman named Furman. It's buried next to the speed photography machine. If someday you stroll by there and got no state matters brewing, dig up the fellow and fetch out my knife. It's not a special knife, just one with a clamshell handle. Easy to recognize. But only if your majesty really wants to. No pressure. The unfortunate death happened thusly. When I tossed your majesty down to the ground and then panicked what I'd done, I didn't even get time to revive because the haunting captain showed up. Worth. He's the one commanded the Nono Holashtar Lulu ship. And he pulled a revolver. The time has come, Jose, says he. You must leave. Fast. Who are you? I asked smartly. I'm Captain Worth. From the Secret Services, a motorboat is waiting for you in the port. It'll take you to Tahiti, and he also gave me monies. Thank you, Your Majesty, for also sendings. Money is the one good where more is better. When I left, I thought I'd pick up my photo from Furman. But when I peeped in the window, oh boy, there was that dead-faced old lady, knocked out cold, but still alive somehow because I watered her. Sir, she whispered, he killed me. Furman. The shares? Turned out Furman and the lady were shareholders under President Alvarez's time. When the president got booted out, the share prices dropped like a fish out of water. But Egmont and Gomperek came to photograph them and said they'd buy those worthless shares. Furman sold his, cheap, but the lady said hers is a keepsake, so only his shares got bought. Then Polino came for pictures, but no shares were left, so he's alive today. But why, who knows? Then the mourning cousins, including Egmont, learned from Bonifac the prisoner that Alvarez is coming back with his army, and they'll have to flee. So they bought all the cheap old shares, hoping they'd become rich again. But when Furman found out Alvarez is returning, he went bananas. Regretted selling his shares for peanuts. Egmont fired him. Gomperek ditto. So Furman killed them both. Figured Warrens would get the blame. Then he whacked the lady with the skull face and robbed her of her share papers. When I stood up from next to the injured lady, was just in time. Furman came back for some reason and tried to bash me from behind, but I already stood, so he missed. Then came a short gymnastics session, followed by burial, signed personally. But I left the knife inside the photographer. My bad. With that, I end this letter with deepest respect. To Your Majesty, your beloved Mama Her Majesty, and Her Royal Highness your wife. Kisses to hands. Written below here. Former colleague, the once Fulig Jimmy, own-handedly.
Even today in Elmira, people remember fondly Fulig Jimmy, the first monarch in the world who drank on first-name basis with his people. And still in effect is the Lex Fulig 193. Section 1, on mandatory simplicity of outer appearance in the Crown Council, which states that participants must attend council sessions in stockings. The Big Buffalo stayed in Elmira as His Majesty's bodyguard and had a good life there. And what about Dirty Fred? Some say he was spotted in Alaska recently, running a gambling den in the land of eternal snow. The gold diggers reportedly plan to lynch him. But by the time they get to it, Fred's likely far away, his mind sharp as a cutlass. There was once a rumor that he died, but then it turned out he was the captain of a rusty tugboat that, during a terrible storm, rescued the luxury steamer Tokyo Maru from a reef, saving 50 passengers. Later, the passengers noticed all their valuables had mysteriously disappeared. Since then, he's been seen in Canton, Trieste, or Rio de Janeiro, grumpy, alone, like a wandering ghost of the ports. And few know, somewhere beneath the shabby clothes and torn shirt, there still beats a heart that once could love, feel sorrow, and worry.